We have Gerald Celente with us. He is the publisher of the TrendsJournal. The TrendsJournal. We've had him as a resource on this show several times. Corporations rely on his expertise. It's not a crystal ball. He looks at data, looks at history, and determines what direction a company or a country is going. So if you're going to invest and build a plant in Brazil, you'd go to Gerald Celente, the publisher of TrendsJournal. You'd say, this is where I want to invest. He'd say, well, they got a military junta there. They're going to take over. It's not stable, blah, blah. He would tell you those things. He's very good at it. His prognostications have been pretty darn impressive. And I want to find out what he sees in our future. Gerald, welcome. How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you very much for those kind words.
Well, I am curious to see what you see coming our way. First off, do you have a gut feeling on the election? I know that this would be a crystal ball, but I'm just curious to see if you have a gut feeling.
Well, we have more than a gut feeling. We made a forecast on October 3rd, 2011. And what we said basically was that the teleprompted president would win. And looking at the field at that time, I believe it was Romney, Bachmann, and Perry who were up in the lead. And we said if either of those three are the Republican choice, then Obama wins again. And me, I'm a political atheist. I don't believe in this fairy tale. Anybody's entitled to worship their political gods. I'm not into that trip. And as I look at it, it's just a presidential reality show. I saw this. What was the comment that Romney made today? What, I heard you say something before. What was the dumb comment of the day?
He believes that the Boy Scouts should accept homosexuals.
Well, he'll say anything. That's Romney. And then I watch Obama. Was he feeding a kid yesterday strawberry ice cream or something? And I said, does this guy ever work? He's always out on the campaign trail with his sleeves rolled up. Doesn't he have a job to do in Washington? And I was thinking, could you imagine Eisenhower behaving like this? This is how low the presidential reality show has sunk to. So my campaign slogan for 2012 is, stay home, don't vote. To keep supporting, for me, again, only speaking for myself, the motto of the TrendsJournal is think for yourself. To continue to support this corrupt, imbecilic system, to me, is a disgrace. And how anybody of any integrity, dignity, self-respect could vote for a lesser of two evils, they should look in the mirror and say, who am I? Do I associate with lesser of two evils? Do I do business with lesser of two evils? Do I have a relationship with lesser of two evils? But oh no, I'm going to give my life away to have a lesser of two evils run me and my country? What's going on here?
Well, you're preaching to the choir. I've been debating with listeners about this for months. Because I want your opinion on this. Looking if Mitt Romney were to prevail, can you see where we stop edging toward the precipice? Can you?
No, not at all. It's the Gambinos or the Bananos. You look at Mitt Romney's foreign policy. It's a carbon copy of Obama, but of course, because it's mittens out there and it's campaign time, he'll bomb somebody quicker. That's the only difference. You look at their economic policy. If anybody in Economics 101 was asked by their professor, let me have a plan to regenerate growth and vitality in the American economy, and put together a stupid scenario like both of these candidates are putting up, they fail. They fail. It's so ignorant what they're saying. So no, it's not going to make any difference. My contention is 40% or less. If 40% or less of the people turn out to vote, we can call this an invalid election. I'm tired of this. And by the way, I have a background in this field. I was the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate. I used to run political campaigns in Westchester County, the richest county in the United States. I also taught American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University. And I spent several years in D.C. as a government affairs specialist for the chemical industry. So I'm no lefty out there, that's talking a lot of nonsense. And so I've seen both sides, is what I'm saying. And again, my motto is think for yourself. I've never seen a campaign as inept and with people so turned off as they are in campaign 2012.
It is a filthy campaign. And frankly, I got to tell you, and I'm not a Romney supporter. I find myself defending him against stupid attacks that are, I think, are just really disgusting. But at the end of the day, I just don't see where this guy changes much of anything.
He's not going to change anything. He's a member of the club. It's just it's like voting for a president of the country club. I'm going to build another tennis court. I'm going to make the swimming pool bigger. I mean, that's about the difference between them. There's no difference. And how could you defend this guy? He goes to Israel and says that the Palestinians are in their position because they're of a lower cultural order than the Jews. I mean, I find that offensive because it happens to be the Italian people. Are the chosen people. We eat better than the Jews do. We have Frank Sinatra. I mean, they have Barry Manilow. They have Barbara Streisand. We have Gina Lollobrigida and Sophia Loren. I mean, come on, let's be ridiculous about this.
Well,
I mean, to make such a stupid comment about that, and again, he'll do anything to prostitute for votes. It's disgusting. It's a spectacle that, to me, is not worthy of this nation, and more importantly, it shows you where this country's going. This is Jersey Shore on the Potomac.
Gerald Celente, our guest, he is publisher of the TrendsJournal. Are they going to lower the credit rating for the United States?
Well, probably. Look what they did. A year ago they lowered it, and look what Congress did. The Gang of 535. They did nothing. The conditions have only worsened. Look at the economic data that came out last week. Oh, we created 163,000 jobs. No, you didn't. You lost 195,000 jobs. Oh, that's different. Oh, by the way, those jobs that you created, what are they paying? 30% of all of the jobs in the United States do not pay a living wage. They're poverty wage jobs. We lost 750,000 full-time jobs since March. They're going to well, I got a better idea. Let's make the credit rating even worse. Let's start another war. I mean, come on. We had the Afghan war that was a bust. The Iraq war, they drained over $1 trillion, killed 1 million people, ruined how many of our soldiers' lives and how many lost and how many families connected to it. Same thing with Afghanistan. Let's go into Syria. Yay, yay. Let's keep draining the budget and destroying the country. Doesn't anybody get it? When you look at Romney and Obama, they range between sociopath and psychopath. These are the same people in college and high school that you could not stand that wanted to be class president and head of the student council. And then they bring in all their flunkies. Remember the brilliant Larry Summers under Obama? Oh, you remember him. The brilliant Christina Roma. They were going to fix the economy. We were going to have unemployment now below 7%. I mean, how can anybody keep voting for these losers?
I ask myself that all the time. Let me grab some phone calls because we're starting to spill over here. John, you're on with Gerald Celente. Welcome. Glad to have you on Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle.
Good morning, Gary. Good morning, Gerald. Good morning. I don't see anything good coming out of this, but I just want to ask Gerald, how many countries that have ever lost their freedom to socialism have ever gained it back, and is it going to take another revolutionary war to get these bonehead progressives out of our lives?
What I would say is this is not socialism. The merger of state and corporate powers is fascism. That's what's going on in America. The National Defense Authorization Act signed by Obama on New Year's Eve that allows the military to take over police duties, that could have Gary or myself or you arrested if they suspect that we have contacts with, quote, a terrorist organization. It's fascism. This isn't socialism. And can you repair from it? Yes. But I believe we do need a revolution, but not one of bombs and bullets and armies, but ones of brains and heart and soul and morality. And I'm not talking in religious sense. The fish rots from the head down. You want to talk about the LIBOR scandal that fixes all the interest rates worth $700 trillion worth? That are car loans, auto loans, student loans, credit cards? You want to talk about the MF Global scandal? You want to talk about all of the banking scandals and nobody's head rolls? Do you want to talk? It's about morality to me.
Well, we just had a primary in Missouri where Todd Aiken just won the Republican support, and he was one of the ones that signs the NDAA Authorization Act. And whenever I asked him at the Republican convention, state convention, he kind of muddled through it, and one principle like that, in my opinion, disqualifies you from my vote. And I think your ideal on the revolution, it has to be nonviolent. We just need to go to Washington and drag all those people out and change the locks on the doors.
We need to educate.
New system. It's, you know, when I was a kid growing up, they used to talk about communism. You know, they had one party there in the Soviet Union. Yeah, guess what? We have two of them here. Oh, back in the Soviet Union, 98% of the people used to get reelected. Yeah, what do we have here? About a 94% incumbent reelection rate? It's the same thing. This isn't democracy. It's a takeover. Wall Street has hijacked Washington. The banks are in control of the entire world. Now they're losing it over there in Europe, too, with their central banks being put into Brussels and all the countries losing their sovereignty. It's a takeover. What do we have, a gang of 535 congressmen and senators telling 312 million people how to tie our shoes? I am sick and tired of hearing from them. We need a new system.
Actually, I think what we needed was not to screw up the old system. We used to appoint senators. They would fight for smaller government. We would apportion the debt to the states. The states would appoint senators who would reject excess spending. We didn't have an income-based tax. We had the great system. It's just that our great-grandparents let it slip through their fingers.
And our generation is the worst. The baby boom generation is the worst. They're the biggest sellouts on the planet. These were the people that were protesting for peace and love. It was peace when they were getting drafted. You know, I was there. You know, I'm 65 years old. I was born in 46. And then when the Afghan War and the Iraq War and their little boys, their amazing and special children weren't getting drafted. They had lockjaw. These are the ones that turned corruption into a fine art. You know, so again, yes, our grandparents let it slip through, but the baby boomers pushed it through. You know, Bill Clinton was the epitome of a two-faced baby boomer.
Well, we educated them in the government schools. We taught them intergenerationally to depend on the government, to believe the government was the solution, and that just greased the skids. Greg, welcome. Glad to have you on Hot Talk 93.9 The Eagle.
Hey, thanks, gentlemen. Good morning. Just a quick question, going back a few steps to the idea that you know, there's a no vote or the election is declared invalid. I'm just curious, according to the Constitution, or even just to hypothesize, let's assume for the moment that would actually happen. What happens next? I'm going to hang up and listen. Thanks. Bye.
A new slate. We want a new slate. We'll keep the government in place that we have now. We want a new slate. We want better candidates. And I'm also, by the way, I'm a proponent of direct democracy, and that's where the people get to vote. They do it in Switzerland. And if you want to go to war, the people vote. They haven't been to war, by the way, since I think 1857. They're only interested in making money. And everybody has guns over there. They're not blowing each other away. And so I want to have more of a direct democracy. My motto is, if you could bank online, you could vote online. I mean, the Diebold systems are diabolic that we have now that are called voting systems. They stink here in New York, the system that they just put together. It's so hard to do. And so what I'm saying is, let the people's voice speak out. And then people say, well, Switzerland's only a country of what, about 11 million people. We're 300 million people. You vote on an issue, whether one person votes on it or several million, it makes no difference. So that, to me, is the change that has to take place. And again, I'm just trying to put forth another solution than the one we have. And again, my solution is stay home, don't vote. That's the sign that I'm putting out on my front lawn.
Well, I actually think that might not be the best solution. My fear here, if that ever caught on, is you would have tyranny of the majority, which is what a republic prevents us from having to deal with. You've got some rules, some guidelines, an operating manual for the federal government. What we've done is we've taken it apart. We've let it fall to the wayside. We've ceased to adhere to its rules. And we almost have a tyranny of the majority now. What politicians do is they run it up the flagpole and see who likes it. It's not what's right, it's what'll get me reelected. It's not what's best for the country, it's what'll get me in office or keep me in office.
Well, it's the tyranny of the minority. It's the tyranny of a gang of 535. And what do these guys do? They go around, they're on recess. Isn't it wonderful? Hey, everybody out there working, 24/7. Congress is on recess for 5 weeks. That's only their summer break. Then there's a winter break and this break and that break and this holiday and that holiday. And what are they doing? Well, they're out there campaigning and raising campaign contributions. How about calling it bribes and payoffs? They're out there getting bribes and payoffs. So I say I'd rather have the majority vote. Let us create our own future, right or wrong, good or bad, rather than leave it in the hands of the Bananos and the Gambinos, the Republicans and the Democrats. To me, it's all the same.
All right, give me the most surprising thing that your research uncovered in your latest Trends Journal.
I'm really concerned about the next great war, and I think we're heading toward, the scenario is working exactly as it did before. The crash of 1929, the Great Depression, currency wars, trade wars, World War II. The panic of 08, the Great Depression. There's a depression in Greece. There's a depression in Spain. There's a depression throughout a lot of Europe. There's depression, recession in the United States. Currency wars are already heated up. The rupee is in the cellar. They can't bail out the real. They're fighting over the yuan. Trade wars are heating up, and I'm very concerned that we're on the cusp of the first great war of the 21st century. Remember, Gary, when all else loses, the money junkies, the bankers, take you to war, and I'm afraid that's what they're doing now.
Scares the hell out of me, but I think you're right. Gerald Celente, publisher of Trends Journal. Would you give the website out, please?
TrendsJournal.com, TrendsJournal.com, and we know people are having a very difficult time, so there's a discount request page, and we try to make it available for everyone so that they can prepare for what's coming ahead.
All right, Gerald Celente, thanks for being with us this morning.
Hey, thank you. It's always great being on with you, Gary.
All right, take care.
Gary.
All right, take care.